welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Vince.
Sweet Christmas, Kia.
We've got Chris.
This is my chief focused into one witty response.
Very good. I am Kia. That's great. We got quotes from Power Man and quotes from Iron Fist. That's because today we are talking about Power Man and Iron Fist. It's Luke Cage time because the new Luke Cage show is coming out this week on Netflix, and we're pretty excited about it. And we thought, hey, why not go back and take a look at some old Luke Cage Power Man stuff? I'm pretty excited. I'd never read any of the older stuff here. I'd only kind of read the more modern takes after Brian Michael Bendis, who created Jessica Jones and kind of really intertwined those characters together. I really liked his take on Luke Cage, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's one of those characters who had kind of been mostly forgotten throughout a lot of the 90s and early 2000s, right?
Well, when I came to him, I remember reading Alias, and I'm like, oh, it's a cool guy, the bartender who's got kind of like a cool name, Luke Cage. And like, I think you or some other people were like, yeah, he was like a superhero in the 70s, and he was like a big deal-ish. But like Power Man is like a name that nobody knows. Like everybody knows Luke Cage, which I think smartly the TV show is like, we're just calling this Luke Cage. We're not calling it Power Man.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think it's a classic case of like writers growing up, loving a character, and then they just completely fell by the wayside, and then bringing him back. Like I think Luke Cage must have been big in the 70s, and Bendis really enjoyed him, and he's like, oh, I can put Luke Cage in books? Because I think Luke Cage during Bendis' run ended up like becoming head of the Avengers, and obviously has his own TV show, which I wouldn't have predicted in 2000 that Luke Cage would have gotten any traction anywhere.
Oh, yeah, no way. Which is, I mean, that's great that these kind of small side characters are becoming so popular, which is awesome. I do remember, like, there's a few times, we won't talk about this too much, but eventually later, like, Luke Cage and Danny Rand, Iron Fist, they're, the best friends, BFFs. They end up forming Heroes for Hire. And they kind of are like the superhero team that goes around helping people, and that's how they make their money as well, which is kind of a neat concept. And I do really like the idea of it, and they tried to bring it back a few times, but it felt like it was just never successful. I don't know if they didn't have the right writers or whatever for it, but it was just never too big of a thing. Yeah.
Chris, do you have experience with Luke Cage?
I do, and I mean Luke Cage. I didn't read. He had a series in the '90s where they brought him back that I never read, and then he was one of the stars. They made a Heroes for Hire comic in the '90s. It's actually pretty good. It's the writer of Suicide Squad, and so he put a lot of. It was a rotating team, and they would have like Deadpool would cross over for like an issue, and there's sort of ongoing mysteries about kind of whose loyalties were where. It was all very Suicide Squad like, but it was good. It lasted, I think, about 2 years, and then Luke Cage was kind of in limbo after that until New Avengers, which I did. I read all that stuff until it became completely insufferable. But
I think that was around the heroic age when I tapped out of overall that stuff.
I lasted like 40 issues or so, but it got bad.
Yeah, all right. So the comics that we are reading today specifically, I guess we should mention exactly which ones. They're from the late 70s, and we are reading Power Man number 48 through 50, which is kind of like his first run-in with Iron Fist, I guess. And then after that, the title becomes Power Man and Iron Fist. And we're going to read issues 59 through 60 of that, just kind of like one of their little adventures now that they're kind of like a tag team together. It does have a very 70s feel to it. And we'll talk about that as we're going through because, we'll see. So the first issue starts with Luke Cage, and he's kind of, for whatever reason, busting into Misty Knight's apartment. You know what? I guess before we get too far into it, we should explain who these people are, because there's two ladies, Misty Knight and what's her name, Colleen Wing, who are friends of Iron Fist. They are detectives. They have a little detective agency together. And they're really cool. I actually really like Misty Knight. She used to be a cop, and she lost her arm because of some bomb, and so now she has a metal arm.
And she's no longer a cop now.
No longer a cop. Yeah, she reminds me of that guy from Mortal Kombat.
Jax.
Jax, was that his name?
Well, it really confused me because I've been watching the new season of American Horror Story while we were reading this book, and that I can't even remember. Angela Bassett, I believe, plays a character that's also a police officer who's quit the job recently, but she's still tough as nails. And, it's American Horror Story, so it's weird. And I had to ask my wife, does she have a bionic arm, or was that from the Luke Cage book I read? Because they were very similar character types and similar, like, the way they, like, approached life. And I was like, I don't honestly know anymore. But American Horror Story, no bionic arm, at least yet.
Angela Bassett might be a little too old for the Netflix show. But if it was like 10 years ago, she would have been great.
Oh, that's a good call.
It's also, it is also worth mentioning, in case you don't know, Luke Cage is black. Misty Knight is also black, which is, it's nice. They're not really Marvel's, like, first black characters, but they are sort of their tokens for the 70s for the most part. It does feel like kind of a token book. There's not...
I disagree
completely. Okay, no, you're right. Here's what I'll say, actually. I went into this thing expecting more veiled racism, and I was pleasantly surprised that there wasn't a whole lot of it in there. There was some veiled sexism, sure. Not a whole lot of veiled racism, though.
I was worried about white guys writing jive talk.
Yeah.
I was worried about going in that was what this might end up being.
Yeah, and it wasn't. It didn't feel too bad. I mean, of course, there's his catchphrase, "Sweet Christmas," which we get every now and then. But
he doesn't even say "Sweet Christmas." He just says "Christmas."
He just says Christmas. Yeah, Christmas. Which is like a shortening, It's he shortens it. He doesn't always have time to say the whole thing. He's in the middle of a fight, right?
It's like a darn it instead of gosh darn it.
Right. Well, and as silly as "Sweet Christmas" is like a catchphrase, I don't feel like Christmas is that silly if you're just saying Christmas.
Yeah, it's nice. It's it has a nice feel to it. So this first issue, for whatever reason, starts with Luke Cage busting into Misty Knight's apartment.
As all good stories do, with our protagonist roughing up a woman. As all good stories begin.
To beat her up. And he's just like, oh no, it's this other woman who's here, Colleen Wing, who he doesn't even know who it is, but he's like, all right, we're gonna fight anyways. And there's a few sexist remarks about, oh, she's actually kind of tough for a woman or something like that, which isn't actually, it's not terrible for the time period, And actually, as the story goes on,
you're calling it sexist, but I don't think it's that bad that he is like, I'm not going to like open-faced hit a woman, like.
Yeah,
but I don't think that's a bad thing.
But it's like when he calls out things like working for two lady private eyes ain't my style. Like you could just say working for private eyes ain't my style. You don't have to say they're lady private eyes. Yeah. I do love though that
actually mentioned who created these. Not created these, but who the writer and artist are. These first few issues that we're reading are from Chris Claremont and John Byrne, the writer and artist who are probably most famous for their big old X-Men run that we've talked about plenty of times before on their show. So really classic authors writing during their prime. So I feel like just reading a little bit might not give us the full flavor since they were kind of known for their big, long epics. But Vince, I think I cut off what you were about to say.
Oh, well, I just was about to say that I really like that Colleen Wing, whenever she uses her Iron Fist powers, always shouts, Kia!
No, I thought so too. It's Ki-ai. It's K-I-A-I. And so I had to look at it. It looks like an exclamation point, but it's not. It's a Ki-ai.
I don't know, because Iron Fist also says Kia a little later. And I was watching...
again, same thing. Not an exclamation point.
I was watching Storks this past weekend, and they had a Ninjago Lego short before that. And those ninjas in the Ninjago also said Kia, according to the subtitles. Oh. So
well, I took some Taekwondo classes when I was younger, and they would always say, let out some kind of yelp, and most of the time it did sound like yeah. And so I'm very comfortable with that. I am kind of a martial arts staple. I'm really big in the Taekwondo world, so it's only natural that they would always be yelling my name. It's totally cool.
That could have been my catchphrase at the beginning of this episode. It was just Kia.
Oh, it should have been mine. I never do a catchphrase since I'm always introducing y'all. From now on, every episode, Kia. All right, cool. So he's beating everyone up, and then Misty Knight shows up, Iron Fist shows up. Everyone's coming in and, getting their help around here. And it really is, for the most part, just kind of one big fight scene between Luke Cage and these three others, between Colleen Wing, Misty Knight, and Iron Fist. And finally,
Iron Fist is a kung fu billionaire, by the way.
Right. Yeah, well, kung fu billionaire.
And you find out that Luke Cage has been put up to this fight by Shades and Comanche, two ex-con people that knew Luke Cage from back when he was a criminal. and they have some sort of blackmail on him. So they're like in a car wearing their costumes, being like, Luke Cage better do that thing we told him to do.
Mhm. And so we're just like, oh, why is he doing this? And so little by little, we do find out. And by the time we get to the second issue, he's going, it's basically him, like, oh, they've beaten him up, and it's time for him to explain what's going on and tell everyone why he's really beating them up. And so the next issue, I guess, is kind of
let's slow down here, because I do love this
oh,
moment.
Sure.
John Byrne, terrible human being, great artist. The way he introduces Iron Fist in the story, we see him out of costume, just like goofing around, like on a date with Misty Knight. But then Luke Cage throws Misty Knight, like, she tries to hit him with her robot arm, and he's like, no, that's not going to work. And then Iron Fist basically just sneaks up on him, and the way it's framed is so good. Like, you see just his fist in the darkness. And then, like, gradually, his fist starts glowing and lighting up, like, the rest of him. And it's just a really awesome effect where I'm sure, like, practically it means less that you have to draw. But it makes Iron Fist look so cool where you're just like, oh, shit. Like, because he sneaks up on Luke Cage and it's just like, Mr. Cage, turn around as his fist is like lighting him up and then punches him out of the wall.
Yeah, well, and the next thing you see is just Luke Cage going flying. You don't even like see Iron Fist yet there, which was a really nice effect. You're right. And Comanche and Shades are in the car out there, and they see him like flying from one block to the next, and they're like, "What the fuck?" That was pretty neat. But yeah, it's a pretty fun issue. I at first thought I had missed something because I was reading this and I'm like, what is going on? Why is he doing this? I figured we'd know, and I didn't really realize, until the next issue where Luke Cage goes and says, this is why I'm doing all this. And he kind of explained this to them about how this guy, what's his name, this bad guy, Bushwhacker?
Bushmaster.
That's not
Bushmaster.
right.
Bushmaster.
I was about to say Taskmaster, and I was like, that's not right.
Yeah, there's a lot of villains with sort of similar names to them, but this guy named Bushmaster, who's, I guess, a bit of a supervillain, what does he have on Luke Cage? I wasn't entirely sure. Oh, he has some videos that could set Luke Cage free. Like, Luke Cage's whole origin is that he was wrongfully sent to prison, and that's when they did the experiments on him and sort of made him Power Man. And he's still, got this whole prison thing hanging over his head because he's an ex-con. And so Bushmaster, I almost said Bushwhacker. Yeah, Bushmaster has some evidence that could completely clear Luke Cage's name.
It's a video of somebody putting like heroin in his desk or something. Which
something like that. Right?
I don't know. Could you still make that inadmissible? But y'all could have just filmed that last week. Like, how do you prove that?
Right. Yeah.
Like,
it's not really very concrete proof.
I guess if it was dated, and also if you had like a affidavit saying that it accurately reflects the footage that they shot on that date when they planted that evidence, it would work.
Yeah. So Luke Cage has been put up to this by Bushmaster, and Bushmaster, for whatever reason, wants him to go get Misty Knight.
He's not just like, hey, I've got this thing that will clear you. He's also like, by the way, I kidnapped your girlfriend and your scientist friend.
Oh, that's right. That's what it was. Yeah, I kidnapped your girlfriend and your scientist, the two closest people to you in the world.
That's like they did that shit to Scarlet Spider all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Although I think his scientist ended up being the bad guy also. I don't know.
Yeah, that gets a little confusing with the whole Clone Saga stuff. I'm pretty excited. A little off topic, but there's a miniseries coming out soon called The Clone Saga Conspiracy, or it's like some big Spider-Man event. I don't know what it is, but I'm excited.
It's a documentary.
No. Like a crossover, like a Spider-Man comic book crossover.
Oh, really? Oh, fuck. Then I'm totally on board.
Yeah.
I thought it was just that. I thought you were saying it was a documentary. Okay, no, I'm on board. Anything about Clone Saga, even though it's terrible, I will read it.
Exactly. Yeah. Can't wait. Anyways, all right. Back to Luke Cage. So he's telling them about what all's going on, and so they're like, "Okay, cool. Well, we're all on the same team now. So let's go get this guy. Cool."
Was that
cool.
after? Was that after like Luke Cage met like Misty Knight in the hallway, and she just immediately pulled out a revolver and shot him like 3 times?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Wait, what?
Misty doesn't waste no goddamn time. She's just like, She's just like, oh, there's Luke Cage there. Bam, bam, bam. She doesn't like. She just shoots him in the chest 3 times, and I think it like ricochets everywhere. But because I don't know if we mentioned his power. He's got unbreakable skin.
Oh yeah, we should mention that. That's his power, unbreakable skin. Iron Fist's power is magic martial arts. Cool, got
unbreakable skin, but a breakable heart.
Misty Knight's power is metal arm. Colleen's power, nothing. She's just kind of like a regular.
Another Iron Fist because she says Kia.
Well, yeah, she's got karate moves, but she has no superpowers to supplement them.
Yeah.
So Luke Cage admits, he's like, look, I'm an ex-con. They're trying to blackmail me. I didn't do it, but I got 20 years for selling heroin, which is like, Jesus, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And then Misty Knight's like, well, since you were honest, we're going to believe you and help you. If you'd have lied to us, we would have turned you in because I'm an ex-cop, so I don't like you.
Mm-hmm. But thanks for coming in and beating us up.
It is amazing, and we'll get to this in the next arc, how like chill people are with like new evidence appears. Like how people are like very like calm. Like when they're like,
oh, okay, didn't know.
Yeah, that's appropriate. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So they go after Bushmaster, whatever, and he is trying to turn himself into a power man. He's like doing all these experiments, and so now
he kidnapped his scientist. What do you think?
Exactly. Yeah. Of course, that's all he wants. That's all anybody wants.
But he wants to be a better Power Man, like a Power Man 5000.
Whoa.
And then I was about to say let the bodies hit the floor, but that's not their song, is it?
No, that's a different band. What was their song?
Not Dracula. Something. No, where's my head at?
That's his older brother. No, where's my head at? It's not them at all. She's Power Man 5000. Oh, you ready to go? Cause I'm ready to go. What was that song?
Well, I guess. It's a Tony Hawk song.
Yeah. It's total Skater Boy song. Yeah. Not Avril Lavigne. That's not who we're talking about. Okay. So they show up and Bushmaster, he's got all these powers now, and so they got to fight him. But at one point, they're like hanging out and like, should we go help Luke Cage, who's like going one-on-one with Bushmaster? And Iron Fist is thinking like, no, I remember this time I had to fight this other guy who was real important to me. It kind of had to be a one-on-one thing, so I'm going to let him handle this, which is a very nice thing to do. And so they're fighting, and at some point in the middle of this fight, all of the big chemicals that they were using in the middle of this like scientific process to make them stronger, they get unleashed, and they're all like there's this giant explosion, and the whole place goes kablooey, and Luke Cage survives because it's a freaking miracle. And Bushmaster is nowhere to be found and assumed dead. But then they're like, well, it's possible. Somebody could have still survived that explosion because I did. And so he probably did too. But that's kind of the end of the little Bushmaster saga right there.
Yeah. Obviously, he's coming back, but not in this series of issues.
Yeah, he'll come back eventually. Supervillains never die. We should also mention there's this little guy, like the nerdy little black guy. What's his name? I like this guy a lot. The way he's drawn is just really, really nice. Guy.
They say their names at the front of each of the issues.
Oh, they do. Yeah, I think it's at the next issue. I like this guy a lot. He's the one who's like gathered the evidence, and so Luke Cage goes up. Eventually, he's kind of like an informant for Luke Cage a little bit later. It's pretty nice. I like it.
Are we in issue 50 or 49 still?
I think we're ending issue 49.
Okay.
Yeah, we're jumping into 50. So I think I misspoke a little bit at the beginning of the episode. This issue right now, issue number 50, is where the title changes from Power Man to Power Man and Iron Fist. And so now they're a team because they've had one quick adventure together. And this issue is kind of like them just hanging out, celebrating because everyone's friends now, and they're talking like, "Hey, you're a rich person, cool, we're hanging out," and they get attacked.
And so behind the scenes, like Iron Fist's comic, which John Byrne and Chris Claremont had been doing, it had been canceled, and then Luke Cage's comic, they're like, "Okay, well, it's close to being canceled, but instead, let's just basically retool it." So this is their attempt. They're like, "We're changing the status quo and the supporting cast, and now it's both these guys."
Yeah, because like I definitely got the feeling like in this issue 50 here, Power Man and Iron Fist, the first of Power Man and Iron Fist, like There doesn't seem to be any like logical in-story reason for like Iron Fist to join the book. Like they don't even team up in this issue really. Like Luke Cage still does like Luke Cage adventures but meanwhile I'm also like I'm way more interested in what's happening with Iron Fist and his cast than I am with Luke Cage's cast. Especially, it seems like the writers also seem to care more about Iron Fist thing.
Right. Well, and it's the Iron Fist's creative team that
makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I had no idea. I mean, that's kind of crazy. These are the like Marvel's BFFs, essentially. Luke Cage and Iron Fist are such a big deal together, and it's crazy to think that they're only a pair because both of their books were going to be canceled, and they just needed to shove them together.
Yeah, it wasn't like a conscious like opposites attract kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like he's an uptight, rich kung fu billionaire, and he's a man from the streets. Right. It doesn't seem like any logical reason to put them together, but that also makes it like very interesting to me as a concept. Like we're gonna put these two completely disparate book concepts together and see what the hell happens. I kind of like that idea. Like all of Marvel's Phase 3 movies are kind of supposed to be like buddy movies where like one hero guests in another. So like Hulk is just gonna be in the Thor movie for no good reason. And I'm like, that sounds perfect.
There's gonna be a good reason. I'm sure. I can't wait.
But you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, just put Hulk in a Thor movie and see what happens. Just put Iron Man in Spider-Man's movie and see what happens. And I'm like, perfect. It doesn't matter.
I thought. So wait, is the next batch of Marvel movies going to be like the 70s for Marvel movies?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I can't wait. This is going to be awesome. But overall, this issue, there's not really a whole lot that happens.
There's a good recap of his origin, though.
Yeah,
there is. Yeah, I really like that, which is nice. Again, especially with where we started, it's nice to see everything kind of slowly come together again. They're attacked by who is it?
Stiletto and Discus, two hunks of man meat.
Yeah, two former Luke Cage villains who are not very good.
Yeah, they have jetpacks that kind of fly around, but they are really very terrible.
They look like Player 1 and 2 from Contra.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's the thing. Even though not much happens, the issue was still kind of fun to read. Like, it's nice seeing them. It's one long fight scene for the most part, but it's cool to see these two different characters kind of using their powers together and beating the bad guys, teaming up a little bit. So you could kind of call this like their first real team up together a little bit. I don't know. It's really not much of anything special that happens, but it's pretty nice. And I guess this is the last one with Chris Claremont and John Byrne, because then some other people take over after this. Yeah. Is that right?
They last a couple more issues, but not very long. Basically, what happened was Chris Claremont was writing like I think 4 books at the time, and so Marvel was like, "That's too many. You need to like drop one of these." And they really kind of thought they wanted Joe Duffy to write one of his editors to write one, and they're like, well, Ms. Marvel is a girl, so maybe maybe she should write that as a girl. And he's like, no, I'm gonna write that. She can write Luke Cage and Iron Fist's team up book.
Yeah, and so I guess does anyone have anything else to say about these issues before we jump to the next ones?
I just like the last page. Again, Misty Knight busts out her revolver and tries to shoot either Stiletto or Discus in the head, and Luke Cage is like, no! And he puts his hand down in front of the bullet to stop it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I like that moment.
I love Misty Knight.
Honestly, I think Misty Knight is my favorite character in these books. Like, she's very trigger happy, but we get a whole lot of her backstory and a lot of her sort of like reasons behind everything, and I really like it. And, I guess part of the reason is you touched on it a little bit, that Joe Duffy was their editor and was a female. Not very common for women to be writing comics around this time. Mary Jo Duffy is like her full name, but she would go by Joe Duffy, I guess, because it's easier to sell comics if you don't exactly know what the gender is, right?
Yeah, because I remember there was like, we had like a reading list in elementary school, and I saw this book called Joe and the Bandits, and Joe was spelled J-O, and I'm like, this sounds awesome. And page 1 was like, Joe is a girl, ugh. And I didn't read that book. I still should probably go back.
What?
Yeah.
You sexist piece of shit.
It's an 8-year-old sexist piece of shit. I'm like, the Bandits isn't enough to get me over a girl protagonist. Lame.
Wow.
Thanks.
I'm gonna go read some Hank the Cowdog now.
Hank the Cow Dog. Damn, I remember that. All right. So yeah, Joe Duffy takes over, and I don't remember exactly where she takes over, but we're reading issues 59 through 60, which is kind of like another little mini adventure right here, and you can definitely tell she cares more about the female characters because there's so much more good Misty Knight writing in this than anyone else.
Mm-hmm. And issue 50 also saw Luke's longtime girlfriend, Claire Temple, doctor, just be like, well, I'm out of this comic forever.
Yeah, that's right. Claire Temple, a.k.a. The Night Nurse from Daredevil.
Right. One of the two characters that the Night Nurse is, yes.
That's right. That's right.
Really?
She was married to Black Goliath, then I guess just regular Goliath, who
That's
died
our best
Silver
friend.
Flare. Yeah, everybody's best friend.
Everybody's best friend.
Hasn't seen in 15 years.
So issue number 59 starts with the gang, which is basically our four main protagonists now, all hanging out at some swanky restaurant at the top of a tower. And
the issue's called The Big Apple Bomber.
No, it doesn't.
Wait, it doesn't? Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I jumped ahead a little bit. You're right. Oh, gosh, I should also say Big Apple Bomber, the name of this issue. I read this and I was like, ooh, too soon. This was right after the very recent bombings here in New York, and so I was like, all right, is this going to be a big deal? Turns out neither. Well,
actually, everybody's like extremely level-headed when they find their suspect bomber. I'm going to go straight into that because they're like, this guy was here. He used to bomb shit. He's like, but I didn't bomb this thing. And everybody's like, we got to be cool. Innocent until proven guilty, right, guys? And everybody's like, yeah, that's true. And so everybody just like lays off the guy who's like the most obvious bombing suspect for this thing. And I'm like, this is where I draw the line of realism.
Yeah, it's like this redheaded Irish guy who has been a bomber in the past, and he's showing up and is like, I gotta talk to the UN or the ambassadors who are in town for whatever, and they're like, you gotta get out of here, buddy. You
used to bomb people you're a former IRA terrorist.
Yeah,
right. And then as he's leaving, the place blows up, and they're like, "Oh no, what?" And Misty Knight is just like, "It's him! It's fucking him!" And she's going crazy, ready to kill him because she lost her arm to a bomber just like him, and so she's like, blah blah blah. But everyone else is very level-headed, like, "Oh no, give him benefit of the doubt. We don't know that it's him. He's trying to change his ways." And I don't know. I'm with Misty on this one. I think it's him.
Yeah, I was like, this is obviously the fucking guy. Like, and this is where like my inner conservative comes out. Detain him for a couple days just for questioning.
Yeah,
well, they do. What's your problem here?
I don't know. It's just like my problem is more like I'm just surprised by all these characters, like because we do not respond this way in terrorist attacks. Our country in real life, where everybody's like, "Be cool, man. Be cool," and then everybody's like, "Yeah, I will be cool. Cool." Like,
yes, let's let cooler heads prevail and find the real guilty party. But they don't really have any evidence. They just have Misty being like, "This guy's a former bomber, and he was in the area like right before it happened." So that's all I need.
Which I think that's pretty good evidence. Again, I'm with Misty. I'm with her.
Hashtag I'm with her.
Yeah. I'm with her. We didn't mention the artist's name on these new issues as well. Trevor Von Eden. Not bad. He's no John Byrne, but it's nothing super special in my opinion. Not bad. I don't know. I don't know anything else that he's ever done.
I really liked this whole book though. This is where I was like, okay, this book is way more my speed than the last 3 issues we read.
Yeah, I do. Again, I feel like Joe Duffy's writing is just a lot more interesting than Chris Claremont's for me. Even though this was Chris Claremont at his prime, maybe because he was writing more about Iron Fist and everything was still just kind of coming together. But this feels more like a full-fledged story where stuff is really happening and there's kind of
I kind of disagree because it sounds to me like you really skipped over the action scenes, and there's some really good action scenes in those other ones.
Oh yeah.
If you're just kind of like if you want more character beats and things like that, like yes, this definitely has a lot more of that. But like I think you're selling it a little bit short because it's a really fun fight that they do, but it is just like a 2-issue fight and then like a 1-issue like recap and then like this is our new status quo issue.
I think I liked more about this book, just like establishing the daily life of running Heroes for Hire or Nightwing Industries, which I guess is Misty Knight and Colleen Wing's also Heroes for Hire organization.
Yeah, that confused me a little bit. Like their detective agency or whatever is called Nightwing Restorations. Like that's a very strange name, and it also made me think of, was Nightwing from DC still around at the like? Was
I don't
he
even
around
know
at
if Nightwing was established in 78.
Yeah, he wasn't around at all yet.
Wait, you tell me Marvel created Nightwing? Whoa!
Because
it's just their names. It's Misty Knight and Colleen Wing.
Yeah,
I didn't even realize that. Holy shit! I am so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I didn't pick that up
Nightwing.
until like 2 or 3 issues later, and then because Nightwing, the name came from, I believe, Superman giving it to Dick Grayson, and obviously that had to have been after Teen Titans. Teen Grayson in the mid '80s is when he couldn't have been Nightwing before the mid '80s. I don't think.
Yeah, because we read that first arc of Teen Titans in 1980, and he's still Robin.
Right.
Okay. Wow. All right. Well, who knew? Misty Knight and Colleen Wing made Nightwing, and then
they didn't have to restore it.
That's a weird. Why is it Nightwing Restorations like that? Okay.
I thought they had like a design company on the side.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Like they go fix up screwed up buildings, and I don't know. Apparently, it's nothing like that.
But I like just like they're just kind of like hanging out, like talking about contracts and like what they do, and so that immediately like felt more my speed. And then I think I just was more interested in the Iron Fist stuff, and Iron Fist had established himself a little more in this book by that point. So I was feeling this a little more.
Yeah, and me in general, in case you haven't noticed, listening to the show, I'm not big on fight scenes. Like they're cool, they can be cool certainly, but in general, they kind of bore me. I'm interested in the talk and the character stuff.
And then I also just like the sass of the editor's notes when the Sons of the Tiger show up, and they're like, for more information about the Sons of the Tiger, just read any book with them in it. Just do it. Like doesn't even give like an issue number. I'm just like, fuck it, I don't give a shit.
Yep.
Go read Sons of the Tiger if you want to know about Sons of the Tiger.
And since you brought him up earlier, Trevor Von Eden, I read an interview he gave where he talked about this. Trevor Von Eden was I think Matt Baker was probably the first African American comic book artist, but Trevor Von Eden created Black Lightning and was the first I think the DC ever hired. So that kind of like made the news. Oh. And then he kind of felt like that was a token kind of character because they're like, you're going to make a character called Black Lightning for us. And he's like, okay.
And Black Lightning is DC's first black superhero, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, and that's like 71 or 73. Like it's too late.
It's a little less progressive than Marvel, and it also looks kind of bad. So he worked for Marvel for freelancing, and he said he had fun working on these books, but that he would constantly get notes that they would be like, your style just doesn't look like anyone else's style. Like, could you please make it look more like the kind of like house style at the time? Could you like I don't know, make everyone look a little softer? Can you because it really does look pretty different. I think he does a good job though. Like
I agree.
Yeah, it's totally good. Yeah, I like it. It just doesn't. I think John Byrne is just so high up there. He's kind of one of these classics. It's hard to jump straight from John Byrne to him because there's some weird layouts and stuff. But yeah, overall, he does have a very distinct style. Like his faces have those kind of big chins overall. And it kind of does look really nice, almost a little bit cartoonier, which I always kind of like, but not too cartoony. Right. So I do like it.
Right, and I think he does a good job. A lot of crappier artists, especially in this era, would have a lot of like awkward, kind of not quite a close up, not quite a mid shot thing where the superheroes just kind of looked dumpy. Mm-hmm. And he did a good job of avoiding that for the most part, where he would just do pretty good close ups of them that looked pretty dramatic. So I thought he did a good job, but he got fired after the issue we read.
Yeah, because it switches to a different one. Before we jump to the next one, I want to ask you real quick. You mentioned an artist named Matt Baker as being sort of one of the first African Americans. Is that right? Did I hear you right? Is that any relation to Kyle Baker? He's another more modern artist I really
Plastic
like.
Man, really good.
Yeah, Plastic Man, some other indie stuff.
I don't think so because Matt Baker was an artist in like the late 40s. So
okay. Wow.
I don't think they're related. He was another one where it's like I don't think that was his real name either. It was like you need to sound generic as possible. so that people will buy this because racism is really bad in the 1940s and 50s.
Yeah. Unlike today, where everything's hunky dory. Oh boy,
Yep.
hot takes. All right, let's keep going.
I do like that. Like Iron Fist, though, is like because everybody gets trapped in this like swanky restaurant where the bomb is, and everybody's gonna die. And Iron Fist is like, I could punch through this wall, but I might hit a gas main or something. So I got to be like very smart about like how we get into this room. And then like literally a page later, Luke Cage just like barrels through the wall.
Right. Well, he's not worried. He could hit a gas main, and all it would do would set his shirt on fire.
Yeah. I felt like Iron Fist was like more concerned about blowing everybody else up, but
right.
I just like okay, we got some mild character comedy here. I don't think necessarily if it's played for comedy, but it's like we're showing the differences in the two characters here and their approaches, and I enjoyed that.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Luke Cage wasn't up there at the restaurant with him. He kind of busts up there and tries to save the day. That's what it is.
He was just playing cards with their like secretary or front office guy, D.W. Griffith, weirdly named.
Yeah. I don't know who that is.
And I'm also not sure if knocking over just a single fountain would put out a whole like floor fire, but.
Yeah, I don't know. There was also another moment at the beginning of this issue where before they go to the restaurant, Iron Fist and one of the ladies, I guess Colleen, they walk into his apartment and get attacked by some dude. And like, oh no, what's going on? And Colleen's about to like kill the guy. And no, it's just my old sparring partner. He surprises me sometimes when we fight, and it's cool.
I mildly hope that was a real actor because the sparring partner was like, yeah, I'm in all these movies, and I use Iron Fist to help train me. And I was like, I hope that's a real person, like how Chuck Norris was Steve McQueen's fighting partner. But
yeah.
I think Bob it's inspired by that, but I don't think it's a real character, a real actor.
Oh yeah, he does kind of have a Chuck Norris-y look to him a little bit. Bob Diamond, the actor. Yeah, that's what it is. That's the exact quote from the issue.
He was actually in. I think he actually references it in the issue. He was in another like Kung Fu Marvel series.
Oh really? Cool.
I haven't read a whole lot of Marvel's Kung Fu stuff in general. I'd be interested to check it out a little bit. Who knows? Maybe sometime for the show.
I mean, Iron Fist gets pretty good, and then Kung Fu had. It's not very good writing, but it's not the book for you, Kia, because it had a great fight scene art was the selling point for the Kung Fu book.
That's cool. Yeah, there were some. There have been some recent Kung Fu movies that I've really liked recently. I don't know. Have you guys heard of these? It's about. Gosh, what is it? It's a panda, and he does kung fu. What is it? All
right.
I don't know that one, but I did see Kung Fu Panda 3. I don't know if that's related.
Let's move on.
That movie has Walter White as the villain.
What, does it really?
Yeah.
Whoa, I'll have to check that out. All right.
So does the Total Recall remake.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
God.
That's a Philip K. Dick adaptation.
Mm-hmm. All right, so issue 60... Issue 60 is, and again, I could be wrong about this as well. If anyone bothers to fact check this, they can prove me wrong. But I think this is the first superhero comic written and drawn by women.
Yeah, the artist Marie Severin takes over with this issue, and
also Steve Leah. I never can pronounce his name. You could do a supercut.
Yeah, I mean, Leah most of the time these days they make a distinction between who's doing the pencils and who's doing the inks. Usually, the pencils is like the top spot, and then the inks is like the guy who kind of goes over it and makes it the final. And I think Marie Severin did the pencils for this, and so she's sort of like the main one. And yeah, I really like her art style for this. It's really nice and crisp and clean, nice layouts. Yeah, I really enjoy it. There's a few moments where some of the anatomy gets a little weird, but overall, not a big deal. I like it a lot.
And we saw her art way back in our April Fool's episode when she was doing comedy art.
The not brand Yeah, that terrible, not funny stuff. But her art was good. Actually, you know what? I don't know if we talked about it that much, but her art really on point. The art was the funniest part of that book.
Well, apparently, I think Chris told us that she just would like doodle all the time and just ended up being like a very good like Jack Kirby mimic. And people were like, we should put you in a book or something.
Right, because she was her original job, and she does it in this issue. She was a colorist. So like she would just doodle like on the pages she would color, and they're like, oh, you should have more jobs.
Yeah, I think more than anything, I kind of really like the way she draws eyes. They're very expressive, even when they are kind of normal. Like, I don't know, they seem more real than a lot of other artists around this era. There's something just overall very nice about this. So, anyways, yeah, this issue is basically them just kind of going around trying to figure out who really set this bomb. This is when Luke Cage goes to Gadget. Gadget, that's the nerd guy's name. Gadget, and he's like, "Hey, you had all this evidence that could have, cleared my name, and you didn't just give it to me. You jerk! Now you owe me." And so, helped lead him to some other guy, and it's kind of like a little bit of a chase, not a chase, but sort of like a go around, pick up one clue, then go around to another clue, and they eventually find out that, again, we mentioned in the last issue that the UN was in town and there was some ambassador who was the target of this bombing. And, it turns out that redheaded Irish guy who they thought set the bomb, he was just trying to warn the ambassador. Oh, what a nice guy. He wasn't the bad guy after all. It was someone else. Who was the bad guy? I don't even remember who it was.
It was those people that hate that country.
Yeah, it's some organization that hates them, and they're super foreign. They all look like they're like straight out of the Tales of the Arabian Nights. Like they're all wearing fezzes and like super lavish gowns and everything, and like lounging around on chaise lounges and stuff like that. And
that's not accurate.
I mean, listen. I've never been to what's the country? I think it's
it's a made up country. It's like Bialia or like in Transformers, Carbamia or something.
Well,
Carbamia? That's a bad name for a made up country.
Yes, it was. It made who was it? Somebody quit over it, right? Casey Kasem or something.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a Transformers Middle Eastern country. Yeah, Carbamia.
I've never seen any of the new Transformers movies. Should I watch
this is like 86.
No, yeah.
Oh, really?
No, you shouldn't, because they're full of equally racist stupidity.
Great. So, anyways, they find out that they gave them a samovar, which is great. That made me happy. You don't see samovars come up very often in superhero comics.
That was the vocabulary word of this issue.
I love it. I mean, my parents have a giant golden samovar in their home, it's real nice for making tea, but it's just like a set piece. But this one has a bomb in it. Oh no! And so they were delivered, and it's right behind Iron Fist. Oh no! And I gotta say, overall, I really like this story, but it's super stupid because they're like, okay, the bomb is going to go off at exactly this time. And so that redheaded guy, what's his name? Alan Kavanaugh, the redheaded guy who they thought was the bad guy, like saves the day because he goes and he finds the samovar and he throws it out the window. But the bomb doesn't go off. And they're like, what's going on? The bomb should be going off right now. And then 45 seconds later, it goes off. And they're like, oh, we got lucky. The guy who set the bomb, his watch was fast. Womp womp. That's like the joke that ends the issue. So fucking like there was no point for that. It could have just like thrown it out the window and then it explodes and then he's a hero who saved the day. Like you don't need all that extra weirdness in there.
Yeah, I don't know that it's true, but to me it feels like an editor stepping in and being like, change that story ending because it is really weird and feels like they're like it's all set up for this dramatic punch and then they're like, no, that's not gonna happen.
Well, it also could have been like, maybe the artist drew it first and then, like the Marvel style where the writer is going and drawing over it. And it's like, I don't know how to make these panels. This is how I'm going to do it. Why not?
Well, something like that. I mean, even if you look at what's drawn, I mean, he throws it out the window and then he's tackled and then there's an explosion and they're like, it's been 45 seconds.
Yeah.
It doesn't even seem like it's been that long, except they're telling you it's been a long time. It's really weird. Yeah,
it's true. You're right. It is a little weird.
So to me, it feels like an editor asked them to change something. I do really love this exchange between Luke Cage and Iron Fist. It's my quote of the issue.
Which one?
Luke Cage says, "Shut up. You seen a samovar in here anywhere?" Iron Fist.
That's right, because he's just like sitting around there. You're right. That was my favorite part of it. Again, I really just like these last couple of issues that Joe Duffy wrote. I'm kind of excited to check her out and see if there's more stuff that she's written. I think I looked her up. She kind of wrote like a few little things here and there, but nothing that was ever super big. It was always like, hey, we need some writer to fill in over here. Who can we get? Now let's put Joe Duffy on it. Like that's kind of the impression I get looking at her bibliography. But I
and
wanted
we'll
to check it
get
out.
to it in the will you continue reading it, but Marvel Unlimited just posted a bunch of these. So it's now easily available.
Yeah, Marvel does a pretty good job. Unlimited does a pretty good job of like, it's time for the movie or the TV show. It's Marvel's Reading Club, and so they'll put out like some key issues, and so they actually put all these up because we were gonna have a hard time trying to find 59 and 60, and then they ended up putting them on Unlimited in between this episode and last. So good job, Marvel. I'm hoping they're gonna drop. I don't know if they have dropped a bunch of Iron Fist, but in anticipation of that show, there should be a lot of Iron Fist to read around that time.
Yeah.
Hopefully the whole Brubaker run.
So I gotta say, overall, talking about these, I'm a little disappointed that there wasn't more Luke Cage for us to talk about. That was kind of the whole point of us doing this. But overall, we did get some other really nice stuff to talk about and get excited over. And like I said, we read plenty of other Luke Cage stuff, and it seems like the TV show is drawing more from the modern interpretations than the older interpretations, anyways. So it's totally okay. You don't need to go back to the old stuff. Even the current Luke Cage Power Man and Iron Fist series, it's really good. I really enjoy it. It's all about him, and spoiler alert, he's married to Jessica Jones and has a kid and isn't really interested in the superhero game anymore, but Iron Fist kind of dragging him back into it. I like the way they're written. It's pretty good.
Dragging him.
I'm kind of disappointed. I'm still like really sad that Gendy Tartakovsky Luke Cage book never came to fruition.
It is coming out. It is.
Is it really?
Stations. Yeah, it's going to be a 4-issue miniseries. It's starting, I think, next month.
Are you kidding me?
Maybe. No, I am not kidding you at all.
That had concept art like, and I want to say like 04 or 05.
Dude, check it out. Gendy Tartakovsky, for those of you who don't know, Powerpuff Girls, Samurai Jack, Dexter's Lab, all
for
that.
For you millennials,
sort of cool
Hotel
stuff.
Transylvania.
I don't. Okay, sure.
He directed both of those.
Yeah, I love the guy, but he is doing a 4-issue Luke Cage miniseries written and drawn by him. I'm super
like
excited.
That classic like Dexter Samurai Jack style.
Yeah.
So.
I think I'm gonna be Samurai Jack for Halloween, you guys. My girlfriend agreed to be Aku.
Sweet.
A lot of fun.
That show's coming back too.
Yeah, they're doing a remake of that. Man, there's so much cool stuff coming out. I do wish that miniseries had been out by now so that we could talk about it. But maybe once it's done, we'll talk about it.
I wish that series would be 10 years old and we could have been talking about it as a classic comic.
That's true. Yeah, it's supposed to be out a long time ago, but didn't happen. Yeah. So time for our next segment, as Chris alluded to.
I do think before we go on, I do think this does a good job. We only kind of picked some issues at random, but you can see this is 59 and 60 from 50, so we skipped 8 issues or 9 issues or whatever. Mm-hmm. I really do like the rapport that Luke Cage and Iron Fist and Misty Knight and Colleen Wing have with each other. Like, it's just really cool. Yeah. Like, they're all friends. And it's a good, like, it's not really like, like a will they, won't they, like love triangle thing. It's like, no, right, Iron Fist is dating Misty Knight. Luke Cage is not dating anyone. Like, it's just kind of neat. And I think either Joe Duffy or Trevor Von Eden said something like, Marvel editorial was like, why doesn't Luke Cage date Misty Knight? That makes more sense.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool that they didn't do that.
Yeah, an interracial couple. It seems like very progressive for the 70s in superhero comics to have an interracial couple there. Again, they weren't super popular characters, so they could kind of do whatever they wanted. But I'm glad they chose to do that because it is nice. They are all very different characters. They do play off each other very well. And you're right. I'm glad you said that because I hadn't really thought about it. But definitely, they have a nice vibe to it. Mm-hmm. Are you going to keep reading it? I'm going to go first. I think I might, at least maybe just the Joe Duffy stuff, because again, I really do like her writing style and the way she's going through this. So I don't really feel like I need to read too much of the classic Luke Cage and Iron Fist again, because the modern versions are so different from those. But I think I might keep reading more of her stuff at the least. How about you, Chris?
I think, this isn't like something that I would consider like essential reading, but it's fun, just kind of light reading. I don't know if it ever becomes really continuity heavy. The stuff we read was not really. They told you everything you needed to know about it. It's not like there was like a bunch of callbacks where you're like, what? it was pretty self-explanatory and really easy, 2-part stories. I thought it was fun. So yeah, I would recommend continue reading it, especially since Marvel made it really easy too.
Yeah. Vince?
I don't think so. I mean, I was kind of like, these are fun, but I also don't care enough right now. I think there's more interesting books. If I would I'd probably like to see like a more modern book. It made me actually want to read more Iron Fist. Really, it made me pine for the Brubaker Fraction run, and more so made me pine actually weirdly for the Dwayne Swierczewski run that came after Brubaker Fraction, which I actually really enjoyed. That I don't think many people did.
I have no idea who that is. Yeah.
He's a true crime writer, and they built in this concept. Brubaker and Fraction did that all Iron Fists die on at age 33. There's never been an Iron Fist that's been over 33, and that's where Swierczewski takes that concept. Like Iron Fist has his 33rd birthday, he's gonna die this year, and let's see what happens. It's pretty fucking cool.
That sounds pretty fun. Yeah. Cool. Very cool. So, overall, that's Luke Cage and Iron Fist, Danny Rand. So, good stuff. I can't wait for the show to come out and check it out. Speaking of Marvel TV shows, another one that just started up its new season is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., who I don't think you guys watch at all, but I'm a big fan of, right? You guys don't watch that show?
I don't. I watched the first episode, didn't like it, didn't really.
I hated the first episode. I actually watched the first 10 episodes when they first started to come out, hated them, and had to force myself through them again. And actually, it gets so much better in the back half of the first season. And then season 2, Kyle MacLachlan's in there as Mr. Hyde. I fucking love it. It's fantastic.
What are they starting season 4 now?
They're starting season 4 now, and they're doing Ghost Rider this season. And I was like, all right, we'll see. And what interested me is that they're not doing the classic take on Ghost Rider.
The Nicolas Cage classic take?
Oh, God, no. Can't call that classic at all. They're doing the most modern version of Ghost Rider. There have kind of been a few different people that have had the Ghost Rider mantle, and the newest one was created in 2014. It's a new character named Robbie Reyes, Hispanic kid. I don't really know much of anything about him, but Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is doing that version of the character. And so I started watching the first episode, and I was like, all right, this guy's pretty cool. And so I am really excited to kind of check out this character and see what he's all about. So for the next episode, we are going to do this Ghost Rider from 2014. It's All New Ghost Rider is the official name of the series. It's kind of when Marvel was doing their thing, saying, okay, all the titles are new. So, hey, All New Ghost Rider. Cool. And it's issues 1 through 5. Written by a guy named Felipe Smith, art by Trad Moore. I don't really know anything about these guys, but they created this brand new character. And so, again, I've been scared to get into Ghost Rider because, I don't know, I feel like there's this...
He's a very scary character.
Oh, yeah, I'm always
scared.
Spirit
of vengeance.
Skulls, help me. Yeah, Spirit of Vengeance. But, it's exciting to come into it with a brand new character that doesn't have any baggage or anything behind it, start fresh with kind of a modern take, and see where they go from there. So, that's what we're doing next time. All new Ghost Rider 1 through 5, jumping back into the modern age and seeing where it takes us. So before we sign off, anything else anyone wants to say about what we read today?
No, but if you would like to check out our show, we're now on YouTube. So if you ever want to listen to work and not download a podcast or anything to your app, you can check out all of our audio podcasts on youtube.com/allmyfriendsareright It's just basically the graphic for the episode is what's up on YouTube, but you can hear the whole episode. So that's pretty cool. And those are all posted at the same time as the rest of the episodes. So if you ever have a friend that's like, I don't understand this podcast thing, or a relative, send them to YouTube. They'll figure it out a little easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, grandparents love hearing us talk about Power Man and Iron Fist.
I remember back when my comics.
I was going to say, maybe they will. Maybe.
That's actually, you're right. I was being sarcastic, but you're right. They might actually want to hear what the kids think of their old comic books. Yeah. Chris, you have anything you want to
add? Sure. Listen to my podcast, Your Stupid Minds. Better than 10 Super Bowls.
It's all. Ooh, I bet
better
it is
than
better
10 Super Bowls, but not better than the other 41.
Yeah, I mean, some of those are really good, so I can't compete with all of them.
Yeah, it's a fun podcast. They talk about really terrible movies and how stupid you are for watching them. So
I had a really great teardown of Jack by for the Robin Williams movie. Some other people recently did like anniversary because it celebrates 20th anniversary, but I think you guys did a really great job on that, and I still need to listen to your Piranha 2 James Cameron episode.
There's a lot of inside info that we got. We did a lot of research on that.
Oh, really? I should check that out. That's like the top of my list this week.
Very cool. All right. Well, I think that's it for us today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Vince.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
You stole my ending line. Damn it. All right. Well, that's it for the show. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Chris, Chris, I should have told you. The Barclays Center, where the Nets play in Brooklyn, they have a giant statue of Captain America, just out in the middle in front of the arena. I don't know who commissioned it. Yeah. It doesn't seem like Marvel did. And what does it say on it, Kia?
It says, "I'm just a kid from Brooklyn." It's nice. I love it. It's a great statue. It's fantastic.